Hello there! If you haven't heard about Scarlet Nexus, then this is the perfect movie for you. I am DarthGrizzly, and this is Nerd Cave. Scarlet Nexus is an action jrpg game released by Bandai Namco Entertainment. It is also an anime produced by Bandai Namco. The story of both productions is set in the city of New Himura, about 2000 years after appearance of the so-called extinction belt, which nearly led to extinction of the human race. The extinction belt covers the Earth like Saturn's ring, occasionally dropping odors onto the Earth. Odors are monsters that feed on human brains. Our mission is to fight the odors and uncover the secret hidden in the world, like a typical protagonist in a game or an anime. We have two playable characters to choose from, who are both users of telekinesis. Yuito fights in close combat using a sword, while Kasane fights in medium range by throwing levitating blades at enemies. Of course, both of them can also throw cars and other elements of the environment at opponents. Depending on which protagonist we choose, we will experience a slightly different storyline, which gives us more time to get to know the characters and their companions. Typically, for JRPG game, it is divided to two phases, game phase and the standby phase. During the game phase, we push the story forward, discovering strange and twisted facts about the current world, while fighting a ton of enemies. During the standby phase, we can strengthen our bonds with our companions and revisit previously visited locations to take on side quests or complete them. We can also take them on during the game phase if we notice them. Increasing the friendship level with members of our team plays a crucial role in the course of the story. Each of them is a user of different type of psychokinesis, such as pyrokinesis, electrokinesis, invisibility, and several others. Each of them combined with our default telekinesis increases our strength and allow us to eliminate enemies more efficiently, especially if we choose a power that counters the enemy elements. You know, electricity beats water beats fire, etc. With each friendship level there is an additional bonus that enhances the ability of the character, such as prolonging the duration, performing additional combos, and much more. Typical thing for RPG. Unfortunately, one thing really bothers me about this mechanic. No matter what happened in the game after the cutscene starting, the standby phase, everyone acts as if nothing happens. The world is ending, people are dying, we barely survived the last battle. Easy. Let's go to the bar and talk about my favorite color. Seriously, something definitely didn't click here. Speaking of flaws, this game perfectly shows some strange backwardness of Japanese game developers when it comes to this type of production. Invisible walls are commonplace, and if you want to jump on the stairs halfway up, forget about it. Even though this animation shows that you could easily jump to the first floor in some building. Several second loading screens that pop up to load a cutscene that you will skip anyway because you've had enough. I understand those types of things in games like Nier Automata or Valkyria Chronicles, which are not new games, but come on, in a game from 2021 it shouldn't look like this. And unfortunately, there is a significant contrast between European and American production and Japanese ones. And the price is not different at all. In fact, it's harder to wait for any discounts or any promotions with Japanese productions. By the way, talking about cutscenes, Most of them consist of static frames and characters stuck to each other in windows placed on opposite sides of the screen. Not only it is an incredibly archaic solution that would be better suited for a tactical JRPG game, but they also made an anime based on this game, which was released a week after the game premiere, so the work was done simultaneously. The studio making both was the same studio. I don't understand why they didn't use the animations prepared in the anime as cutscene in the game. After 20 hours of playing, the only thing that kept me going was the desire to know the story, so I immediately skipped all optional cutscenes. Unfortunately, 20 hours it is a minimum to complete one path, while ignoring side quests and all activities outside of bonding with teammates, and I still had the second part to story left to play. After finishing Yuito's path, I know that playing with a keyboard is a nightmare due to the multitude of options and operations we can perform during combat. Fortunately, the pad I ordered a long time ago finally arrived, because unfortunately the one from Xbox 360 died. So luckily I could play Kasane's stories with a gamepad. The first thing that struck me when starting Kasane's path was the recycling of cutscenes. They literally replaced characters' models, and that's it. It also happened in later cutscenes. Additionally, finishers also fell victim of recycling. Most of the ones performed by Kasane are the same ones that we did playing as Yuito before. Obviously, most locations are also the same locations we have already visited multiple times during the first playthrough of the game, but fortunately there are a few unique locations that we will only visit as Kasane. I must admit that this time I enjoyed playing much more. I don't know if it was because her storyline was more interesting and had more depth, or because of the controller, but I started to enjoy this game again. True, I skipped all unnecessary activities just to push the story forward. After completing both paths on one save file and starting the new game again, we get the ability to switch between Yuito and Kasane's stories freely. Although I didn't know how they explain it in the story at certain points, and I currently don't have the strength or desire to play the game for the third time. Maybe someday. As for the music, the opening that starts the game is amazing. It builds up and immerses us in the atmosphere of the game. Unfortunately, that's all I can say about the music. There is a soundtrack in the game, but I didn't pay much attention to it, maybe because I was too focused on defeating enemies, but enough about the game. Moving on to anime. Forget about what I said at the beginning about using anime segments at cutscenes. Somehow the anime is uglier than the game. I didn't know how they managed to do that. However, let's talk about the story. It roughly corresponds to what we see in the game. The beginning is slightly different. Some events that we know from the game take place in different locations. For example, instead of construction site, which we visited multiple times, the scene takes place in a park, so it's a plus. that the anime decided itself to more varied locations rather than sticking to the same ones. Both Yuito and Kasane's storylines run parallel to each other, which makes everything makes more sense and avoids any loose ends. I really like the fact that they are almost always in brain drive mode during battles, which in the game triggers spontaneously. R2 is not mentioned in the story of the anime at all, so for the purposes of the anime story we can simply assume that is some type of combat mode and the costumes serve as protective enhancement. When one of the characters takes a heavy hit, the costume disappears and they are back in their regular uniform. In the game, when Brain Drive is activated, nothing interrupts it except entering another location or certain cutscenes, or until the matter is deployed, obviously. The anime also does not show the SAS system in the form that we know from the game. There is some variation of it, but neither Kasane or Yuito can use the power of their companions and create combination with their own power, which is one of the core mechanics on the game. A positive aspect of the anime is that the character of Kodama Melon is not included in the anime. In the game, she only appeared in a few cutscenes on Yuito path and didn't contribute much to the story. In Kasane path, she has a slightly bigger role and appears as a boss to defeat in addition to the cutscenes. However, the anime managed to replace her in a very simple way, and it worked out much better narratively. It's a shame that it didn't look the same in the game. At the end of the series, we get an epilogue episode showing the face of the characters after a slight time skip, with a somehow open ending, but I wouldn't count on a second season unless it is created independently of the game. On the other hand, in the game, I do miss such an epilogue. We get a 3-month time skip, but not much happened during. The characters quickly reminisce about the crazy adventure and remember the fallen. Overall, I consider both productions to be relatively successful. Somehow the anime is uglier than the game, but honestly, after a few episodes it didn't bother me anymore. And even though I already knew what would happen after playing the game, it still managed to surprise me a few times. Depending on your preferences, I recommend you either playing the game or watching the anime, or both at the same time if you want to compare them on your own. Remember about likes, comments, and subscribe button. Bye!